Hello everyone, it's Marie and welcome to another video. So today I'm telling you all the different ways that I've found you can do your 88 days of regional work to extend for your second year here in Australia. And actually these days you can also extend to do a third year if you do 6 months in your second year. Doing regional work in Australia is a really good thing, it's really important, and you have some incredible experiences if you do it right and if you choose the right places. So without further ado, let's just get into this video. I'm going to give you 6 different ways that you can do your regional work in Australia. Let's go. So the first way that you can do your regional work in Australia, and this is something I honestly recommend everyone tries in Australia. Not only is it a great way to do your regional work, but it's also just so much fun and it's a real Aussie experience you can only get here in Australia. You can't do this anywhere else in the world. And it's working on an outback cattle station. You're going to be really remote, you're going to be in the desert, you know, right in the outback. You're going to get to experience that real cowboy kind of culture here in Australia. I thought it would be 4 months of solitude, but it turned out to be parties, races, rodeos, spouse hunter balls, other backpackers. I even met my boyfriend out in the outback. You never know what you're going to find in the Australian outback. Honestly, it really surprised me. I had so much fun. Not only was the work enjoyable, I also saved loads of money. I walked away with about $9,000. After 4 months there, all my accommodation and food was provided. If you're going to do anything in Australia, try and work on an outback cattle station. It is really an incredible experience. At least from my experience, I'm not saying that all station work is amazing, but I do know that most people that's done it has had a good time. Research the station properly before you go, but in my experience, outback cattle stations are definitely an incredible experience, and I would highly recommend them for anyone. The second way that you can get your regional work in Australia, and it's actually something that I'm doing right now, and it's working on a farm, whether it be a dairy farm. There are loads of dairy farms here in Australia, especially in Tasmania and Victoria, but also a sheep farm or even a camel farm, and lots of other different kinds of farms where you can basically work with livestock and animals. Same with the cattle station, but working on a dairy farm or a sheep farm is probably a little less rural, it's a little less cowboy and outbacky. It's a different kind of rural country experience, and it's still so much fun. You'll be able to get paid a good hourly pay, and you know, it's a really good experience, not only just to have fun, to learn new skills, to learn how to ride a tractor and milk cows and all that kind of stuff, but you also get to be closer to town. You've usually got Wi-Fi, and you'll save some good money as well. I highly recommend doing a dairy farm. If you haven't, I've literally been on a dairy farm now for a month and I'm loving it. I did make a video talking about all the things I do here on the dairy farm. I'll link it up if you haven't seen it, but yeah, definitely consider something like this. So the third way that you can get your farm work in Australia, and so many people don't know this is even an option, and it's working on an island in Australia. Australia is full of so many beautiful tropical islands, like the Whitsunday Islands. They all do count as your regional work. Even if you're on a 417 visa, you can do gardening on Hamilton Island or on Hayman Island. Often the resorts need gardening staff and maintenance staff, and I personally have friends who completed the 88 days on Hamilton Island and Hayman's Island. Or even think about working on Magnetic Island, which is near Townsville, even Kangaroo Island. Just islands in general in Australia are usually counted as regional. In fact, I'm pretty sure they're all counted as regional. And yeah, if you can do some sort of rural gardening work on those islands, then that's a really good experience. If you like paradise and hot weather and beaches and snorkeling and scuba diving, whatever, definitely consider those options. The fourth way that you can get your regional work in Australia, if you especially want to stay in a big city and you don't want to go into the outback, even though I really think you should try the outback, if you're thinking, no, I do not want to go in the middle of nowhere, I want to stay in the city, you can actually work in anywhere in South Australia, especially Adelaide. Adelaide is considered a rural town, a regional town, which means that if you get your white card, you can do some construction work, because even on a 417 visa, construction work does count as regional farm work. And also you could do some gardening or some other kinds of work around Adelaide that counts as farming work or regional work, if that makes sense. And you can also stay in a nice big city. So I actually personally met quite a few people in Adelaide who work as construction site workers, and they got their 88 days that way. So definitely consider that. Also, construction work will give you good long hours and good pay. So if you want to save some good money and get your 88 days, that's definitely a good way to do it. So a fifth way to get your 88 days, and this is something I don't know too much about, but I've been told by lots of people, and I've heard from people who have done this, is that you can actually work in the mines and get your 88 days. Working in the mines is considered regional work, and not only does working in the mines mean you're going to get long hours and good pay, it's also incredible pay. Like, the mines is probably one of the best paid jobs in Australia for making money. I personally have some friends who left after a year or two in the mines and left with like $100,000, $200,000, especially if you have a skill like engineering. You can definitely do that in the mines and make so much money. But also housekeeping and cooking in the mines is a really common job, especially for girls and women. And so yeah, just consider that. Also, lots of women do machine operating jobs in the mines too, and I'm pretty sure all those are considered regional work, and you can get 88 days that way, and you can save so much money. So definitely look into working in the mines as well. A sixth option for getting your 88 days, and this is probably the most common way that most people do it, but I put it last because personally this would be my last resort. But it's working fruit picking or tree planting or something like that. And the only reason I say it's a last resort isn't because it's bad work. I actually spent a year doing all that kinds of stuff in New Zealand and I had an amazing time. It's just that here in Australia, I think a lot of backpackers can be scammed and ripped off a lot, especially with fruit picking. There's a big kind of working hostel thing around Australia where these hostels will take on backpackers and they'll guarantee you work, but you're paying like $250 a week for a room with 10 other people. The hostels are often gross and they do not always provide you with work. I actually went to Bundaberg to find my 88-day work at first, and I left after 2 days because there were people getting fired every single day from the pack houses because workers are just so disposable there. Everyone goes there to find work, so really the employers are just like ticking off workers every day, and you're so disposable, they don't value you as a worker at all. The pay at those kind of places really is so low. I don't even know if some of it's legal, especially the piece rate agreements. I know some people that were working 10 hours a day picking strawberries and they would make only $40 a day because it was piece rates, and I just don't think it's worth it. I think if you can get a good hourly paid job. Even my boyfriend actually did work in Tasmania doing potato grading, and he worked on a small family run farm and he got paid hourly, and he had a great experience doing planting and picking and flower work and fruit work. So I think if you go to a small family run company or a small company, it's good, but if you go to these big mass hostels or big places like Bundaberg, Mareeba, Majura, just where all the backpackers flock to get the 88 days, you will be very disposable and the pay will be very thin and the hours will be very bad. And I just personally met so many people that took 6 months just to get their 88 days because they were sitting around in the hostel all day, every day waiting for work, and often they just get 1 or 2 days of work a week because it's very weather reliant. Often they just don't have the work for you because there's so many people wanting work. And also a lot of people lost money being there. I met so many people who said they were struggling to pay their rent and bills because they just weren't getting enough consistent work. Whereas, you know, on a station, on a dairy farm, somewhere else where you have consistent hours and good pay, you can definitely save money in these situations, not just spend your money to survive, but you actually save money too. So I think that you can have a good experience picking fruit, planting trees, stuff like that. Just make sure you research where you're going well and try not to go somewhere that's really, really, really sought after. So I put that as a last resort because personally I think that there's just too much exploitation with backpackers in that industry in Australia, but they do need people to do it and it is an industry that is necessary. So I'm not saying don't do it, I'm just saying research it well, and I do think that something needs to be done about this industry because so many people get just scammed and it's really not good. So yeah, that was all my tips for different jobs that you can do for your 88 days in Australia. You know, bear in mind you can do these jobs all over Australia, literally. You can go to the outback, you can go to rural places, you can go to Tasmania, you can go to so many places. And if you're not on a 417 visa, I think it's a 482 visa, you know, the other one that other people from other countries can get. You can also do hospitality work and bar staff work in regional places, which will give you a 88 days too, but obviously I'm on a 417 visa, so most of what I was talking about was the 417 visa, where you do have to do physical farm work or construction work, if that makes sense. So yeah, I hope that you enjoyed this video and I hope it was helpful for those of you wanting to find your 88-day work. I am going to be making a second video after this, and it will be talking about how to find work, where to look for the jobs, and how to fill out your application, what kind of ads to write to find a job like this. So if you want to know how exactly to find this work, because I have so many people message me on a daily basis asking for tips and advice on how to find these jobs. So yeah, definitely watch the next video. I'll link it up here so you can figure out how to apply for these kind of jobs. But yeah, without further ado, I'm going to end this video here. Give me a like if you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to follow the journey of me traveling around Australia and just traveling around the world and working online as a nomad and just sharing my life. I talk about all kinds of things that aren't only travel related but just about my life in general. I also love to hear your opinions and responses too. So if you have done your 88 days in Australia, or if you have had a good experience on a station or on a farm or whatever, leave a comment and let people know, because I think so many horror stories are written and we don't have enough people talking about the really amazing experiences that you can have. And I think it's also good just to let people know what other opportunities there are for doing your 88 days, because not everyone knows you can do all these different things. So leave a comment below and let us know your experiences. So yeah, without further ado, I'm going to end this here. Thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.